program, so hopefully at some point we'll be able to put this up on YouTube so people can see just how angry we look when we're on the radio. No, we actually laugh, and we laugh at each other. We actually laugh at how angry we get when we're on the radio. But no, we were talking about, again, trying to, I guess for our own edification, define what we mean when we say education, because the last thing any of us want to do is piss off Paul Delarone when we're saying some of this stuff. So, again, you know, it's one of the things that I say all the time is that knowledge is not taught. What a teacher really does is they prepare a person to receive knowledge, because knowledge is something that has to be received. It is not something you can't give somebody else your experiences. And knowledge, beliefs are what you're told. Knowledge is what you experience. So the thing is, when you start being so consumed by what people tell you to believe, and I tell you, this can come from from religion, it can come from college, it can come from high school, it can come from all kinds of places. When you are consumed with believing or with the sense that beliefs are your embody all of your knowledge, then what you've done is you fail to experience it. You fail to put what people have prepared for you by trying to tell you these things to receive the knowledge itself. Knowledge is something that you can only experience yourself, and until you actually take something practical that you've dissected, as you talk about, Paul. When somebody tells you something and you dissect that information, and so you become more able to understand and fully question what people are presenting to you. That's when you will experience something to say, all right, now I understand. Now that has become part of my knowledge because it's entered my worldview. And for those guys who go into go to Harvard or they go to Princeton or they go to Dartmouth, and then they come back to our territories, full of themselves with what they think is knowledge because they were taught this at these prestigious universities, and all of a sudden they realize that they've never applied that to who we are, and then they start trying to implement it. And the problem is when some of our people get so consumed by the glitz of in the case of the Seneca Nation with a Harvard-educated president. I mean, I've literally heard people say this is the first time that the Seneca Nation has ever had an educated president. I've literally heard people say it. So what did they think existed, for 10,000 years? That there was never any Seneca leadership or any Seneca people that ever had, that had any intelligence? Because I mean, I tell you, when I look at that, so much of what has been attempted in the last 2 to 4 years, and I look at what has transpired with the relationship that the Seneca Nation, the cozy relationship they've had with the ATF, and the cozy relationship they have with politicians and through their lobbyists and through their campaign contributions, it begs the question: when these people get elected into these positions, who do they become? Who do they resemble more? Do they resemble us, or do they resemble us, or them? Do they resemble like that final page of Animal Farm? When all the animals are looking in the window and they see the pigs and the men fighting over a card game, and it gets to the point where you can't separate the pigs from the men. And the pigs are the good guys, by the way.
In 1990, I got charged by the state of New York. And the only reason I got charged by the state, and I didn't get charged by the feds, was because the states jumped the gun and charged me before the feds could. And the charge was that I obstructed justice. I don't know how many of you remember, back in 1990, a helicopter landed in the territory of Cañaque. And it was apparent that somebody had shot this helicopter. And so it landed on the territory, right by the main road that passes through the territory. And I was asked to go and see what the problem was and what we could do to help and so on. And so I went over there, and a lot of these troopers, majors, lieutenants, sergeants, captains, they all knew me because of our past relations. And so they asked me, they said, will you allow us to go into the territory and do an investigation? And they all know that no one goes into the territory unless you've been granted permission. So I told him, I said, well, I don't have the authority to give you permission to go into the territory. That is a decision that must come from the people of the territory. And it says, if you have a request, I can bring your request to the people, but I cannot say yes or no to you. I made it very clear that had to come from the people. I was the only one who was charged and convicted in that helicopter situation. And I mean, this is how stupid it is. I told the truth. I told that I did not have the authority because I'm not the ruler of anybody's community or anybody's territory.
So you were basically arrested for not having the authority.
That's right. You know, and the state arrested me, and they weren't asking as much as the federal government. Federal government wanted me to do 15 years and pay them $150,000 in fines and stuff like this. In the end, the state just settled for giving me a misdemeanor and charging me with hampering an investigation.
Hampering.
Yeah, so I hampered them, you know.
I've never heard you referred to as a hamperer before.
Yeah, I'm a hamperer.
But I mean see, that's the irony of because at the end of the day, it was important to them to get a conviction.
Yes.
They just needed to charge somebody.
Yeah.
And when you look at what's happened with our economic development in our territories, the effort is to criminalize.
That's right.
And then whatever they've got to do to come up with something that they can make stick. I mean, you look at 100 agents going into Tonawanda back in February, and they didn't charge anybody. The only person they charged was one of the non-native clerks that worked at one of the shops, and then they had to dismiss it because the undercover BIA agent who was doing the controlled buys didn't show up for the hearing, so they had to dismiss the charge against her. So, and they realized that this thing was not playing out very well politically. And now with the circumstance in Cattaraugus, and I can't emphasize enough how much we need to make noise over this, because it's going to happen again. I mean, I was one of the people who had a conversation. Matt, you were there. Ed, you were there. Mm-hmm. with Steve Dickey. We know how cocky this guy is. We know how arrogant he is, and he's gone all over. He doesn't necessarily do too much in Mohawk territory. He usually gets around Mohawk territory, but he basically asserted, that there was no question that he was going to continue on his path and that he was going to make arrests, especially as it related to rollies and to what they're deeming contraband. And again, what I'm saying is there is nothing on our territories that by their definition would not fit their definition of contraband. And it's not right. It's not legal. We've been, and in fact, again, I can't say it enough. We've been purchasing this product from New York State wholesalers. We've been clearing some of this product from foreign trade zones through U.S. Customs. There's no question that we've been legally taking this product onto our territories. And now they change a law that never mentions us, that we're never a part of it, so they can reinterpret something, so they can, and it doesn't even matter whether they get some real high-profile conviction. The point is they want to get convictions, and they're going to criminalize us because they know they can kind of break us with legal fees and everything else. And that's why I say over and over again, the solution to the conflicts that we have with the federal government and with state government are not legal solutions. They are not legal problems. They're political problems. And we need to address this stuff politically. So meeting with Steve Dickey, or meeting with a TTB agent, or meeting with somebody on the low end of this thing serves us no good whatsoever. Right. We've got to make noise at the highest level.
Or a tax commissioner.
Well, exactly. All right, well, we killed a perfectly good hour, and we'll see what we do with the second one here. I know that we've got a lot more to discuss, because don't forget, tomorrow's Christopher Columbus Day. All right, we'll be back for the second hour after this. Thanks, guys.